they all learn how to be men? From Andrew Tate, from Instagram, from YouTube, and then we're surprised to find out when people say, God, how come we can't find good men these days? Well, gee, I don't know. Maybe because we're generations of men who were not raised by men. I understand, some people do the absolute best that they can, but here's the thing, the best that you can is not the best. And it's not putting anybody down, it's not casting any direct judgment, but it is judging the outcomes, and I think we can do that pretty well. You know, it's not your fault, guys. I understand. It's because of, it's COVID.
Yep.
Yeah, it's COVID, yeah. It's your social anxiety. It's your depression. I understand I'm being very triggering here with my speech, which also is very violent. So, yeah, I think I need to step back for a second here and check my privilege. And all of these other little catchphrases that we use to try to stop people from saying the truth. So all this language is just attempted shields to stop the truth from permeating. Because we understand what the truth does. The truth hurts. But it shouldn't. The truth only hurts if you fight against it. The wall only hurts if I run into it. The wall is useful if I use it for what it's designed to be used for. It keeps out the elements, it keeps out the rain, it keeps out, it keeps out the sun. It does everything it's supposed to be. As soon as I use it for the opposite thing, I go running into it, now the wall hurts. The truth hurts if you fight against it. The truth is actually liberating. It's the very thing that sets you free if you use it for what it was designed to be used for. I guess it goes back to that question of purpose. Like if you're talking to somebody, I guess that person comes to you and they ask you for advice. What's their purpose in asking for the advice?
To gain assistance.
What's that?
To gain assistance.
To gain assistance for what?
For whatever they need advice for.
Is it to gain assistance to do what they should do, or is it to gain assistance to encourage them to do what they want to do?
To encourage. Because it gives them ideas. Like one person, because people have different perspectives. If you ask like certain people for help, they're gonna tell you one thing. Other people will tell you another. And then depending on what multiple people tell you, like you can like add up those ideas and see like what makes sense or what works for you.
But in both of those two cases I asked about, are they asking you to encourage you to do what you want to do, or to encourage you to do what you should do?
Sure. Or both?
I don't know.
You want to hear that, you ask for advice to hear that they agree with you what you want to do, but when they give you the opposite, you like try to like go out of the way, but at the end you just like end up giving into your own, to what you want to do, and you just don't use that advice.
I wonder how many of us are that person who, if you get advice, you actually will follow it.
It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
There be cases where like the advice is like really good, or it just seems like it would really work out. But then there's times where you're like, I'm not really sure about this, or I don't believe that this is actually a good idea, so I'll just do what I think instead.
So then it doesn't depend on the situation, it depends on the perception. In other words, do you think you're getting good advice, or do you think that you're getting bad advice? In other words, we should say, well, it just depends on this. No, it depends. Do you think you're getting good advice, or do you think that you're getting bad advice? And if you think that you're getting bad advice, well, I mean, who do you go to advice for? Don't you go to people for advice when you think that they might know what they're talking about? They might have some wisdom. Or do you go to people who think like you because you want to be encouraged to do what you want to do? No, I don't know.
It's probably both. It depends on where.
On the thing. How badly do you really, really want to do this thing? So you're asking someone to encourage you.
If you really want to do that thing, you're going to try to see if other people would agree with you that have like a similar perspective with you. But if you're trying to go for like a more safe approach or something like a more smarter choice, you would go to random people you don't know to hear their experiences or their thoughts on that situation.
We don't need an answer for it right now. Just kind of think about that. Because you should have people in your life who you can go to for advice on things, people who you think are wise. But I mean, I think what you're going to find most of the time is you kind of already know what you should be doing. That's why I asked that. Like, are we asking because we really know what we should be doing, and we want to be kind of just reassured that, okay, so I should be doing that? Or do we kind of know what we should be doing, but we want to do something different? So we're looking for that one devil on the shoulder to encourage us to do what we want to do rather than what we should do. Oh, no. No, Alicia. Imagine we find out what the truth is, like really about those things. Like we hear all the time, like there are people who take off, like their dads will take off. Well, why did dad take off? Well, what will we hear from mom? Your dad was a loser. Your dad was a piece of shit. Your dad was this. Your dad was that. What I hear is, so you make babies with people who are all of those things. So now I question your wisdom. Do you have the best advice? Or I wonder, well, if that's how mom reacts, I wonder if mom was really just a horrible, horrible person towards him, and to the point that it was preferable for him to do that than it was to stick around. Is it possible that dad was a piece of crap? Of course, of course. And I wonder if you got the two of them together, how that story would play out. But however it plays out, the child is still the one who's going to suffer through that. And by the not just the child, but like society generally. Someone showed me a video yesterday of a fight over at Plaza Bonita. That's funny, I say that and a bunch of heads just popped up. I saw all your heads pop up in my peripheral. And it was like 5 or 6 guys jumping one dude. And I looked at it and I thought, 5, 6 guys. I'm gonna bet maybe one father among all of them? Why? Well, hear me out. Hear me out. Where do guys learn how to fight? Yeah, if you learn how to fight from like your friends and from YouTube, you're doing stuff like this. And that's how 5 or 6 guys will jump one dude and the dude is still standing and never goes down. Yeah, where do guys learn how to fight? One day your dad takes you aside and says, come here son, I'm gonna teach you how to throw a punch. Your dad holds the pads for you, your dad holds a bag for you, something like that, and then you learn how to throw a punch because dad teaches you. When you've got no dad around, what happens? Well, first off, you've got fuzzy hair, you've got weird hats, and then you're jumping people 5 or 6 on 1, and not one of you can throw a punch. Hear me out, I'm just saying, follow it for what it is. You know, it's kind of like with baseball. Where do you learn how to play baseball? Most people learn how to play baseball. It's a game that dads teach their sons. And so you see a very different type of person when you look at a baseball field versus when you see, we'll say, other sports. Unpopular opinion. Not an opinion though, just kind of look at it. What kind of person goes around and then acts like that, where you're jumping somebody in the middle of a mall with no care or concern about anybody else around you? No care or concern to the chaos that you're causing around there. And surprise, surprise, you're so undisciplined that you can't control that. And you're also so undisciplined that you can't even throw a proper punch. And yeah, I am making fun of them. I'm sure some of you know who they were. Tell them to all grow the hell up and learn how to throw a punch, because they just jumped someone 5 or 6 on 1, and not one of them could do any damage to this person. I'm glad they didn't, by the way. I'm not saying they should have just beaten the crap out of them and thrown them off of the 2nd floor. I'm not saying that that's the case, but what I am saying is that there's a reason that people behave like that, and that's because of a lack of discipline and a lack of positive male role models in their lives. They're all missing something deeply, and not just in terms of where did they all learn how to do that stuff? Where did they all learn how to be men? From Andrew Tate? From Instagram? From YouTube? Watching extreme videos, which we're gonna see today. How does that stuff ever reach us? It reaches us because it's extreme. Not because it's legitimate, not because it's real, but because they don't know how to behave. So we turn to these other sources and then we get the most extreme versions of these things. And then we're surprised to find out when people say, God, how come we can't find good men these days? Well, gee, I don't know. Maybe because we're generations of men who were not raised by men, but we're generations of men who were raised without that influence. And I understand, some people do the absolute best that they can, but here's the thing. The best that you can is not the best. The best that you can is not the best. And it's not putting anybody down. It's not casting any direct judgment, but it is judging the outcomes, and I think we can do that pretty well. I think we can look at the outcomes. It's been measured. It's been studied. We know what they are. We're just afraid to say it. Why? Well, because you can stop me if you've heard this before, but when you want to help people, you tell them the truth. But when you don't really want to help people, when you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. Listen, it's not your fault that you guys are acting like this. It's society's fault. It's because of these structures under which you were raised. It's not because you didn't have strong parental structures at home and people that you could model your lives after. It's not because you didn't have at-home role models, positive at-home role models from people who had achieved things in life that you could emulate. It's not because, none of that. It's because some guy in Idaho sends mean tweets or something. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's just not your fault. It's not the fault of the people around you. So, we love that person because they displace the blame. They displace the reasons for why we do the things that we do. That way we don't take personal responsibility. Because we take personal responsibility, then that means I'm responsible for how things turn out. For me and my family. For me and my children. This is why when you sit there and go, I know what my child is doing right now. A lot of us think like, no, my parents don't know. Oh yeah. Now here's the real question. My God, why don't they stop you?
You gotta make your own mistakes to learn from them.
Okay. I have a student who just got a juvie. And he's telling me a story about how, and I've only known the dude like a week or so, and he's telling me a story about how him and some friends jumped somebody and he was trying to run away because he was carrying weapons, and even though he's on probation. You really think that a parent sits there and says, he has to learn his own mistakes? He has to go to actual real prison before, you really think you want that for your kids? Where have the parents been all along? How is it that the dude has a cell phone? How is it that the dude has clothes? How is it that the dude's allowed to go anywhere at all? Well, you can't stop people. Can't you though? Or maybe it's the attitude that you can't that stops us from doing it. And of course, when I talk to him, no, everything I just said, no structures, none of those things at home, none of those things in place, you know? And that's after knowing the guy for a week or actually a week and a half. He's willing to tell me all that. Tell me his parents don't know. His damn English teacher knows after a week and a half. You don't think the parents know? Or the parent knows? Well, but you can't, okay. I don't know, it's amazing how there are all these things that we can't do, but yet still somehow millions of people, other people, manage to do it. But for some reason we can't. I'm sorry, I'm telling you the truth. I shouldn't be trying to help you. I should be trying to help myself. You know, it's not your fault, guys. I understand. It's because of, it's COVID.
Yep.
Yeah, it's COVID. Yeah, it's your social anxiety. It's your depression. I understand I'm being very triggering here with my speech, which is very violent. So, yeah, I think I need to step back for a second here and check my privilege. And all of these other little catchphrases that we use to try to stop people from saying the truth. All this language is just attempted shields to stop the truth from permeating. Because we understand what the truth does. The truth hurts. But it shouldn't. The truth only hurts if you fight against it. The wall only hurts if I run into it. The wall is useful if I use it for what it's designed to be used for. It keeps out the elements. It keeps out the rain. It keeps out the sun. It does everything it's supposed to be. As soon as I use it for the opposite thing, I go running into it. Now the wall hurts. The truth hurts if you fight against it. The truth is actually liberating. It's the very thing that sets you free if you use it for what it was designed to be used for. And so when they say that the truth hurts, then maybe we need to get on the correct side of truth. Maybe then it won't hurt as much. Maybe then we'll actually like it. And maybe if we like it so much, we're going to want to share it with other people. Like your favorite band or your favorite ice cream. You want to tell, even if you want to give it to them, maybe you'll tell them about it so they can get their own. And then we can all share our favorite ice cream, our favorite bands, and our favorite truths together. But as soon as we fight against it now, then it hurts, and we don't want to share it anymore. And then as soon as we do share it, other people, maybe they're not going to like it though. No, I'm telling you right now, they're not going to. They're not going to like the truth any more than a person who's been living in a dark room their entire life is going to like you shining a flashlight in their eyes. It's going to hurt, yeah, of course. But after a while, you get acclimated to it. And I think that many of us afterwards, once we're used to seeing what the room looks like with the lights on, most of us would probably choose to have the lights on after a while. So you know what, actually this is better, now that I can see everything clearly. The world is better now that I can see it for the way it truly is. It doesn't mean that it's any less tragic. It doesn't mean that it's any easier to get through, but it does mean that it's real, at least. And maybe that's preferable to all these word shields that we put up. So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques?